Welcome to another episode of It's Interesting, the World of. And today's episode, I'm going to be talking about some sports, specifically the Olympics, NHL trade deadline, and MLB spring training, specifically Blue Jays. And then we talk to Renata about Bruges. And then we talk to Ricardo about the housing market in different cities in Canada. And finally, we talked to Gabriela about service in hospitality. Make sure you hit that like button. Please subscribe. And for all legal notices, these are their own people's opinions. Just do the research yourself. Welcome back to It's Interesting, the World of Sports. And I will be your host, Jordi Arioja Palacios. And today's episode of It's Interesting, the World of Sports, I'm going to be talking about a couple of things here. Specifically, how the Olympics went for Canada and for some countries, NHL trade deadline because the NHL is back, and lastly, MLB spring training, specifically the Blue Jays. Let's go to our first topic at hand, that being the Olympics. As we all saw, the Olympics happened in Milano Cortina, in which Norway dominated the medal tally with winning 41 medals in total, 18 gold to be exact, while the United States that came in second with 12 golds and 33 medals in total. Canada finished 11th with 5 gold medals and 21 medals in total. This was not a good year for Canada, although this gives me deja vu because back in 2006, when the Winter Olympics were held in Torino, Italy, Canada, they finished in the top 5 of the medal tables, but they only had 7 golds, 10 silvers, 7 bronze for 24 medals in total. Yeah, no, they did not do good. And now, specifically, they did not reach bronze, silver, or gold medals in ice hockey men's. For women's, they did it. They beat the United States. But from what I remember, that men's hockey team did not do good at all. Well, actually, on to the ice hockey medals, we had the likes of Slovakia taking on Finland, in which Finland won 6-1, winning the bronze medal game. And then in the gold medal game, which almost every Canadian woke up pretty early, the United States beat Canada 2-1. And it's the first time since 1980 for the men's of the United States, they won their gold medal game. And man, I was watching that game with my family. I wanted Canada to win so bad because, well, it's the country that I live in. You always want the country that you live in to win something, to win gold. It's basically, yeah, there's no other way to say it. Although in that game, Canada was outplaying the United States, especially in the third period where we had chances. I believe Thomas Harley, he almost scored the game-winning goal, or at least the lead. But Connor Hellebuck, he was amazing in that game. He finished that game with a 9.965 save percentage. There's a reason why he's the United States' best goaltender. And in Canada, we only scored 1 goal. Thank you, Cale Makar. But man, Nathan McKinnon, he was this close to scoring a goal for Canada, but he just went wide of the net. And then in overtime, which was 3-on-3, but it was really interesting because 3-on-3 hockey, but the format's kind of like NHL playoffs. In the first couple of minutes, Jack Hughes, he got the puck and he beat Jordan Bennington to score the goal. And that's how the United States won their gold medal match. Although Canada, before this event, they did win gold medal in curling, beating Great Britain, which I really like that a lot. Although the women, they did beat the United States in bronze, which hey, look, if we can't, at least we can beat the United States at something. That's a big win for us. It's always a big win for Canada when we beat the United States in something. On to the NHL trade deadline, and it's only a couple of days, I believe. March 6th is when the trade deadline happens. And looking at the board, according to TSN, 3 Calgary Flames players are on it. Who is on it, you wonder, for the Flames? Well, we had the likes of Nazem Kadri, Mackenzie Weegar, and Blake Coleman are on that list. Now, the Canadians, they're interested in Nazem Kadri. Now, I've been hearing reports that Kadri, he requested a trade just recently, but it's not that he wants to leave. It's just that he just wants to go win a cup now. So there's no really bad blood around him. But yeah, looking at who's the candidates, NHLTradeRumors.com, we have the likes of Steven Stamkos, Brad Lambert, Jordan Kyrou of the St. Louis Blues, Stamkos from the Predators. He might go to New Jersey, or if Vegas sneaks their way into getting Stamkos, then they would basically kind of have a super team. And then you have Alex Tuch from the Sabres, which, from what I remember, he was a part of that Jack Eichel trade where he got sent back to with a couple of picks for Jack Eichel, in case you didn't know that. And then, Kiefer Sherwood from the Vancouver Canucks. I haven't heard that much about him, but yeah, that's really interesting coming from NHL Trade Rumors. Now, do I think that the Flames are going to be really active? Well, I've been seeing that Craig Conroy, he wants to have a little patience with like what offers he's getting. But if there's a good offer for all 3 of those people, I pulled the trigger on those 3 people. Now, now, if you ask me, where do I think those 3 Flames players they're going to go? I think that Kadri, he's either going to go back to Colorado, or he might go join the Montreal Canadiens. If Kadri goes to Colorado, I want picks and I want a top prospect player. Now, if he goes to Montreal, I would want, say, who's a top prospect from Montreal? Really, that I do not know, but just give me one of Montreal's top prospects for a pick, say like second or late second and early third. I would like that. And then Weegar, I would like him to go home to Ottawa for, say, a depth player and early second round pick. And then who was the other guy? Oh yeah. And then Blake Coleman, who was also part of on that trade board. I would like him to go back to Dallas. I'd like him to go to Dallas in exchange for, I believe his name, no, not Thomas Harley. But from Dallas, I would like 2 picks, a third rounder and a second rounder, and another prospect from Dallas. Add in Logan Stahanovic. And yeah, that's what I predict that the Flames, that they're going to trade away those 3 players. Also, I've been seeing that Ottawa's been kicking tires with Zach Whitecloud. For those who didn't know, Zach Whitecloud was traded to Calgary in exchange for Rasmus Anderson and a couple of picks and a prospect. That's really interesting. And that's it for the NHL trade deadline. On to MLB spring training, specifically the Blue Jays, in which I saw that the Blue Jays, they were not doing that good against the New York Mets of all teams. They had a 2-0 lead against the Mets, and then they just blew it. I don't know what happened. Jose Berrios, to be exact, he didn't play that well exactly. He gave up a lot of runs. And then Schneider pulled him. And then the Blue Jays, they lost that game 4-3. But now the Blue Jays, they're actually taking on the Detroit Tigers, and they are winning that game 3-0. Well, here's to hoping that the Toronto Blue Jays that they actually make it back to the World Series. I've been hearing that Kazuma Okamoto, he's actually been doing good, but Cody Prince, he was when he was pitching, not good, not good. Although it's kind of like spring training is sort of preseason for baseball, MLB. So that could change or not. That could change. But that is my takes for the interesting world of sports. I will see you next week when the Calgary Flames, if they decided to trade any of those players, and to see if there are more things happening in Toronto or if there's more trade predictions happening around the league. Goodbye. Welcome back to It's Interesting, the World of Travel. Please welcome back to the show, Renata Arioja. Renata.
Hi, Jody. Happy to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm happy that you're here as well, and I'm happy that I'm going to be interviewing you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. So let's talk about the theme first. We're going to talk about a little bit of Bruges. Now, I've been to Bruges, and it reminds me a lot of a medieval place.
That is valid.
Yeah, no, so you're ready to hop into these questions of Bruges?
Sure. Isn't it Bruges though?
Bruges?
Bruges.
Bruges? Okay.
Yeah.
My first question is, can you tell me a short history on Bruges and where it's located and the population?
Sure. So Bruges is a city in Belgium. It's in the Flanders region. So once again, in the Flanders region, that means that they speak Flemish. And as I said last time, gone. If you're in the Flanders region, they prefer you to speak English and not French to them. So in case you interact with someone, they always will prefer English over French because they speak Flemish. Bruges is like 30 minutes away from by train from Ghent. It's like an hour away from Brussels and 1 hour and 30 minutes from Antwerp. It's known as Venice of the North because it has so many canals. It's the same history as Ghent, as if they like in the way that the Spaniards were there first, and then the Dutch, and then the Burgundy family, and then obviously since it's in Belgium, there's no French element. The royal Louis XIV did not do anything, but so the fact that the main difference of history is that Julius Caesar was actually there for a bit, and he like helped build the city. And the reason he built the city originally was because he was scared that there's going to be a lot of pirate attacks. So kind of very interesting that he was even there because it's supposed to be more Roman. And I also wanted to talk about the name because Bruges, some people who speak Spanish, Bruges to them like it's similar to the word witch, but no, Bruges is actually an old Dutch. It's a Dutch word, but like the olden Dutch, and that means bridges. So it was named after. Bruges was named after how many bridges there are.
All right, so almost similar to the history of Ghent, but with just a little bit of tweaks.
Yes, just the Julius Caesar wasn't in Ghent, but he was in Bruges.
Julius Caesar, he was in Ghent, and well, no, not Ghent.
No,
he was in Bruges.
Yeah.
Which I thought that I don't know how Bruges wasn't colonized by the Roman Empire when he was there, but oh well.
But I don't know. Well, it probably was, but
but then they completely forgot. So
yeah, probably.
Yeah, no, all right. Thank you very much for answering that question. My second question is, what's the thing about daily life in Bruges?
Well, so I like to say in Bruges, you walk a lot since there's a lot of bridges and stuff like that. So you walk a lot. It's very pretty. Bruges, the city, is actually the whole city itself is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So that just shows how pretty and how medieval and how old it is. It's also very popular there, the chocolate, much like in Belgium. But it's specifically big in Bruges because it's like there's a lot of tourists. So there's a lot of chocolate culture. There's also a lot of beer culture. It's so popular that there's actually 2 museums dedicated to, well, one a beer museum and a chocolate museum. And then there's also very interesting when you go to the chocolate stores, my personal favorite is that since they want you to buy the chocolate, they give you samples. So every time you go to a new store, you get a new chocolate. So I very much like that. In beer, since it's famous in Belgium, it's very popular also there. And there's a lot of breweries and distilleries, so it's very cool that that difference versus Gond.
So it seems to me like it's a mixture of a bit of Switzerland culture. Well, not culture like exactly, but more of like the chocolate part, and Germany more because of the beer.
I guess I wouldn't say that, but like I guess there are two different elements. You know how many
On
people
to
Belgium is such an interesting country that nobody really knows. Since it is so tiny,
so
it's very
you
interesting.
could even so you could mistake it for like, oh, chocolate, oh, Switzerland, oh, beer, oh, Germany. No.
I guess there are some parts of Belgium that speak German.
Mm-hmm.
They very much could be.
Yeah, no, all right. Thank you very much for answering that question. And then the third one is, what's a local tradition or festival in Bruges that outsiders rarely know about, but absolutely should? Why should they know about it? And what is your experience from visiting those attractions?
So I would say it's once again the Christmas market.
The
So
Christmas markets.
love Christmas markets. Bruges has three different ones in different locations. I was able to go to two of them, but the one I went to was the main one in like the where the city hall is. So that one is very nice. That's where I was actually informed. It's a really small one. That's where I was informed that like I spoke French to one of the people, asking for a hot chocolate, but they said no, no, no. Can you speak English to me instead? I prefer it that way. And they actually gave us the history of Brussels. So that's where I learned all the information I know. So it's a cute little like Christmas market. It's beautifully decorated. You can see it goes perfectly well with the buildings in the city hall. They're all colorful. It was a great little area because it has little gazebos. And like if it's raining, like it is always in Belgium, it's very nice to still be able to have the Christmas market even with the bad weather. And it's the Christmas market is very similar to like Lil's and Gons. It's a little less French food though. But like they have waffles, they have fruit from the Netherlands if it's a little closer. They have the raclette, stuff like that. Typical Christmas market. Compared to Gaunt, it's a little more dispersed. So that was cool. And I went with my friend and we had some really good waffles and really good hot chocolate. And it was nice to be able to talk to people because I didn't know much about Flemish culture. So I very much like the Christmas market.
All right. So overall, it's the Christmas markets that you love.
Yes, I would say the Christmas market. Well, because we don't have them here in Canada. Or if we do, it's not the same atmosphere.
Thank you very much for answering that question. And then,
Yeah.
what local spots in Bruges, a cafe, a street, or a viewpoint, felt like you were a local, and why did it matter to you?
The one that I went to, it's a very funny situation. I went with my friend. She was visiting from Calgary, and I took her to Rouge. The one bar I really liked. So it was raining and cold, so we wanted some beer or food really. So we just like look something on Google, and then we get to to the bar, and we find out that it's a very famous bar. So that bar is called the Gare. I think that that's saying it in French way.
Regarde.
I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to say it in Flemish, so sorry, I don't speak Flemish. It's a really famous bar, and it's known for having its own beer. Like they make the beer there, and they only sell it there. You can't buy it at stores, at liquor stores. You can only buy it in that. You can only have it in that bar. And it's called that beer is called Trippen.
Creeping.
I actually did drink it, and it's almost like a very blonde one.
Yeah.
I didn't love it because I don't love beer. But my friend that likes beer, she very much likes it. But I was able to, it's very interesting because they were very focused on beers. And very funny. Every time you order the beer, they would give you cheese with it. It was really good cheese. I like that they gave me food as well. And so then when I was there, I ordered a beer. I like red beers. And so then I asked for any red beer, and he gave me one that's a very interesting history. That it's called a Christmas beer, but it's typically only given to females, not a men supposedly can't drink it. That's the tradition in Belgium. So I was able to have that, and we had it was super nice, and it was like a very cute, like very small bar. There was only like 10 tables, and it was only one guy running it too. So it very much felt like a local place, and it was in a hidden alleyway. So
Yeah, it sounds like you really enjoyed that bar that you went to.
yeah, It's very nice. And I remember the beer being so yummy.
Yeah, no, and from what I know, okay, so it's weird because you like to drink beer. No, 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 wait. No. You will only drink any alcohol if it tastes sweet.
That is correct.
All right. Well, that was great. Thank you very much for joining me on today's episode of It's Interesting, the World of Travel.
Yes, happy to be here.
And I might talk to you next week, maybe not, but I might.
We shall
All
see.
right. Once again, thank you for joining me on today's episode of It's Interesting, the World of Travel. Goodbye.
No comment. Bye.
Welcome back to It's Interesting, the World of Money. As always, welcome to the show, Ricardo Estrada. Ricardo.
Oh, thank you very much, Jordy. A pleasure as always.
Yeah, no, thank you. Hey, thank you very much for joining me on today's episode of It's Interesting, the World of Money.
Right.
All right, you ready to hop into these questions?
I am as ready as I will ever be.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. Okay. First question is today, should I buy a house in or should I keep renting?
That's a really good question. It's something that right now people are concerned about. And let's just, if the question comes in, I'm assuming that we're talking about someone who already has enough money saved for a down payment.
Yes.
And then it's just, okay, should I spend that money in the down payment and then pay the mortgage? Or should I just save that money and continue to invest the money that I have for down payment and continue renting and I guess investing? So the first thing that you should think is, of course, it is more expensive to buy a house and to own it. Not only are you, investing into your down payment and you're not earning money from that anymore, but also due to the interest rates being higher today, the cost of actually home ownership as far as a mortgage is increased. Not only that, when you own a house or a condo or whatever it is, you need to pay property taxes. If it's a condo, you need to pay maintenance fees and you need to pay insurance. So those kind of costs are sometimes, if you take into account that when you own a house, you need to pay the property taxes, pay the insurance, pay the condo fees, any kind of maintenance. If you rent a house and your toilet is not flushing, just call your landlord and he'll fix it for you. If you own a house, the toilet, the plumbing, the furnace, everything, it's your responsibility. You have to take that into account. So ideally, here, what you would do for, let's say, a couple of years is continue renting. And again, this is just my opinion, but have the discipline to, let's say, if you're renting for, just around the numbers, $2,000, right? And the home ownership, which includes mortgage, insurance, and all the stuff that I talked about, is $3,000. Then rent for $2,000, but pretend that you're actually having that extra expense. So save the additional $1,000 that you would actually spend if you owned a house. Use that to increase your down payment. And then in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, have a much bigger down payment, which will reduce your cost. Now, also, if interest rates go down, which is what's supposed to happen, and I don't have the crystal ball here, but that's the expectation, that interest go down, then a couple of years, then you'll buy the house, have more money for a down payment, lower interest rates, and then you will actually, be better off with it. So that is the thing. Now, if you don't think you have the discipline to save the extra money that you would be spending if you bought a house, then, might as well buy the house now if you have the down payment, because otherwise you're going to spend that money somewhere else and that's not going to help you. So should I buy a house or keep renting? No. I think today, as a young person, you should continue renting for a couple of years, but saving that extra money and then putting it all down to a larger down payment.
Yeah, no, great. That makes sense. So like you, so so say that I move out tomorrow from my parents' house and I'm living by myself independently. I should be renting those first few years that I live outside my parents' house. And then later on, once I know what I'm doing, when I have a lot of money, I can then potentially buy a house.
Correct. That's correct. But you have to save. You have to continue saving. If your parents are not going to help you with the down payment, which I think they should, a little bit
Yes.
anyway, then you move out, you rent, but you save the money for a large down payment as much as you can. If you can get 20%, then you don't need CMHC, which is another thing that we can actually talk about. So it's so yeah, so that's what you should.
All right, no, that's great. Thank you very much for answering that question. My other question is, should I buy a house in Alberta in either Calgary or Edmonton?
It's a good question. See, I think it's great that you bunched both of this cities together because Alberta is different, and then Calgary and Edmonton are similar to the rest of Alberta,
Yes.
rural Alberta or smaller cities. So I believe, and again, everything that I tell you here, it's just my opinion, that real estate prices are going to continue to go down. Even here in Alberta, last year they were down slightly, but if you see all the construction that's being done everywhere, you'll see there's going to be a lot of supply there. And on the other side of the equation, demand now due to stricter rules to immigration and the basically banned or just restriction of international students to come here. Demographically, there's not going to be that continuous growth that we had of people in to Alberta. So there's going to be on one side a lot of construction being done, and on the other side not a lot of people moving here. That's just going to create supply and demand. It's going to get prices a little bit down. So I believe you should not buy a house in Alberta right now. You should wait again a couple of years. Market will go down. My opinion.
Yeah, so you actually have a pretty valid opinion. I mean, if we look at how like the housing markets, how they're doing right now, and all I know, they're not doing like what our or my generation wants them to be right now.
No, it's still very expensive. I mean, not as expensive as Vancouver or Toronto, because that's completely unaffordable. But it's still, I mean, a condo still reasonably for a dual income household. You're there with your girlfriend, you start saving, two incomes joined together. You can afford a small condo here in the Calgary, maybe not close downtown, maybe in the suburbs, but you can still afford it, right? So yeah. But I believe again, lots of construction going on, not a lot of immigration. I believe prices are going to come down slightly.
Yeah, no,
and they have. Last year they did. Yes.
Because if they don't go down, then
well, I mean, if they don't go down, it just means that there's a lot of people moving here. Yeah. And if there's a lot of people moving here, there might be a reason for it. It might be because there's jobs here. So it's great, right?
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. Once again, thank you very much for answering that question. And then my third question is, how is the Vancouver residential real estate market? Is it a good time to buy a house in Vancouver?
Well, the average house, and I'm talking about detached single family home in Vancouver, is over $2 million. Mm-hmm. So the clear answer is no. And even if you could, I mean, it's completely unaffordable. Right? So let's just talk about maybe a condo in Vancouver or a townhouse or a semi. So in that case, it's still very, very expensive. There is around 12,000 new condos coming that are under construction that will be completed this year and next in Vancouver. So there'll be a lot of condos that are going to be, they're pre-sold, but people are going to try to dump them in the market and sell them. Not all of them, but for investors, which is the majority of the people that are acquiring or that were flipping those condos, there's going to be a lot of them. So short answer to your question, I believe it's not a good time to acquire residential real estate in Vancouver.
So overall, you're just like, nope, don't move to Vancouver right now. Well, like
no,
rent.
You can move to Vancouver, you do get a
Rent.
job, and you can rent. Because again, if there's a lot of supply there, rents are going to come down. I remember the federal government on their Trudeau, they tried to get this affordability as the main issue of their politics,
Mm-hmm.
and they used CMHC to incentivize low construction costs for rental units. So it's going to be, like I said, 12,000 units. I would say most of them
Mm-hmm.
will be up for rent. And rents are going to come down in Vancouver. So you move to Vancouver, rent, and wait for the market to continue to tackle. I mean, market's already tanked significantly. So
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And then thank you very much. And then on to my other question. How is the Toronto residential real estate market? And is it a good time to buy there?
I think Toronto and Vancouver, I think Toronto's even worse than Vancouver because Toronto, even though it's a larger city and larger employment hub, there's a lot more jobs there. They're overbuilt so much. And the type of units that they built there, they call the dog crate condos,
Mm-hmm.
which just is more 350, 400 square feet places. So those things are tempting. A lot of the people that pre-bought this pre-sales are not going to be able to close because they never intended to close. And well, there's going to be a debate what's going to happen to that. So,
Yep.
long story short, there's going to be 20. So if Vancouver's 12,000, there's going to be 20,000 new units completed this year. I think the next 6 months of 2027. So it's going to be a glut, ton of supply, and that's going to make prices go down. I mean, remember, there's a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, those condos are down around 20, 25% already. And so imagine you're closing on a condo that you paid $1 million is now worth 750 and coming down. So no, I don't think it's time to buy in Toronto. I think that's not a good residential real estate market. It's going to continue to come down.
No, so like you said, Toronto is, well, it's practically worse than the housing market or like how it is in Vancouver.
Yes.
Now, is
Because
that
they
more
built so much more.
is that more thanks to the population of Toronto or
No, I think it's mostly based on the fact that they went significantly higher and they built a lot more. And there was a whole bunch of more investors in the Toronto market that pre-bought all these units.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. That's great. Thank you very much for joining me on today's episode of It's Interesting, the World of Money.
Jordy, my pleasure. I'll see you hopefully next week. We'll talk about it.
Yes, I will see you next week. That is a certainty.
Perfect. All right.
All right. Thank you very much. And
No worries, Jordy.
goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome back to It's Interesting, the World of Hospitality. Please welcome back to the show, Gabriela Palacios. Gabriela.
Hello, Jordy. Very happy to be back with you.
Oh, no, thank you very much for joining me once again. You ready
Of
to
course.
hop on into these questions?
Of course, right away. Let me know.
Okay, here it goes. My first question is, and the theme, it's going to be service. And
Okay.
what is your view on service?
Well, my view in service is I've been working for the hospitality hospitality. Hospitality
Yeah, it's okay.
industry for 25 years, and so I've been like traveling to different places, and service either is uh, different but similar. Like it's a very weird way of answering, but in some cultures, some aspects of the service are really well taken, and some aspects not. So you need to learn how to. But at the end, I think that service is what your guests or clients are expecting to receive when they are staying at your hotel. In this particular case of hospitality in the hotel.
Okay, yeah, no, thank you very much for your take on service. So here goes the first question. How do you
Okay.
describe a great service?
A great service. It's a very simple answer that would be anticipating to the guest needs.
So sometimes it's very hard to know what the guest wants in advance. But there are right now a lot of tools that can and systems that can help you for sure to know exactly if a guest, like we have one system, for example, that if I'm staying in a hotel in Cancun in Mexico, and a server noticed that I love to put, I don't know, like ketchup in my breakfast, they will add it into this system just to say Gabriela loves ketchup with her breakfast. So whenever I stay at another hotel in maybe France, they will see that, and then they will read, oh, okay, make sure that she has ketchup, because that's a way of obviously anticipating to the guest needs, but also you are actually wowing the client as like, oh my god, how does that person know that I love ketchup in my breakfast? So I would say that that would be anticipating with the guest needs. If you know that it's a guest by the information that they provide you in our reservation system, that is a guest that is staying with the family, most likely they're going to want two beds, right? So then instead of when they arrive to the hotel asking them what preference do you have in bed for beds, you can ask that in advance, right? And then you know if it's a group that it's a, let's say, a concert, a very famous artist that they're going to have a concert at night, most likely they don't want to be disturbed very early, so you try to put them far away from the elevators. So it's always anticipating to the guest needs. That would be for me an excellent service.
So overall, it's the little details that makes it a stay you'll never forget.
That is correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you very much for answering my question. The other question I have for you is, what's the difference between a great service and above and beyond service?
Yes. So everybody travels nowadays or have the opportunity to travel to different places. So a great stay would be really to have a nice room with clean, that is clean with clean sheets, like a comfortable bed, a clean bathroom that has good food. That would be like a good service, right? Because that's what you're paying and that's what you are anticipating you're going to get in any stay. So above and beyond would be like, when they checked in, I have a perfect example actually that happened today. So then I was walking in the restaurant, just seeing that everything was going, how everything was going, making sure that the service was good. And then I was walking by, and one of the couples, the lady was saying, "Oh, I'm so happy that we're celebrating our anniversary in this hotel." So obviously, I heard that. I didn't say anything right away. So I went to the kitchen and I grabbed a cake that said "Happy Anniversary." So when I came back to say, "How's the service going for you today?" I actually brought that cake, and they were very well, because I'm like, we never told anybody that we are here to celebrate our anniversary, and suddenly you have a cake. And I said, well, we just want you to make sure that have the best day here with us. And obviously after that, we also send a another amenity to the room with a little note card that say, here is a nice bottle of champagne from us, so you can celebrate your anniversary in different ways.
Yeah, no, so with above and beyond, they just like to go a little bit more. They like to do a lot more, a little bit more than what great service is.
That is correct. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. And then my other question is, how can you spot the difference between average and great service?
I would say that the big difference would be the passion that the team that is working with you has, because they will go ahead and provide a good service. Anybody who works in hospitality knows that everybody who comes to your hotel is expecting a good service. But I think that once you have associates working for you with great passion, that will make a big difference. So, for example, if I have a conference in house and the main client says, you know what, I have some boxes that I'm going to go ahead and send back to my office back in, let's say, Ottawa, my associate would be like, okay, grab the boxes and then leave. But obviously, like the little touches that we've been mentioning would be like, okay, so where are you going to Ottawa? Is there anything that I can do for you? Do you need a taxi to go back? Once I pick up all the boxes, let me know if I can call a taxi because I guess you're going to the airport. And if because it's the end of the conference and you're giving me your boxes, that means that you're kind of done with your conference. Would you like to go to our bar to get a glass of wine? So it's just really the having associates that have a passion for hospitality and a passion for obviously making sure that the clients or the guests that are in your restaurant, in your hotel, in your guest rooms, just don't go out of the door of your hotel checking out and saying, "Oh, my stay was good." It's like they really are pushing to make sure that the client says, "This is the best stay that I've had." And again, another example that I have for today that I went to say goodbye to a conference that we had here through the whole week. I just went down and said, "You know what? We wanted to thank you for your business." But then they actually said, we travel lots. We go all over the US and Canada to different hotels. And I can tell you that your team has done an amazing job in everything, anticipating to all the needs that we want. If they saw us unpacking boxes, they were right away, we're bringing in scissors because you obviously need that to cut some of the boxes. So I would say just having associates that are passionate for hospitality.
So you said like for the average one, they don't really have that. Well, eh, they don't
They
have
like
that.
it.
They like it, but it's not more for the great one where it's okay. Just like break it down a little bit.
Correct.
Average one, it's like okay, that's fine. I'm happy. But no, the great one is no. I love this job.
Exactly.
Yes, no, thank you very much for answering my question. And then
Mhm.
my other question, how can you assure that your employees always give their best service?
I think that everything is just obviously during the interview process, having and asking the correct questions to identify if they are here to provide the best service with that they have a passion for hospitality. Because obviously, in the first interview, you will notice with some specific questions that we have to see if they are a great fit for your hotel. And then, but I would say that the number one thing to make sure that the entire team provides a great service for us is training. We have a lot of training right from day one when you start working with us. This is like a lot of the culture that we have in the hotel and in the brand in general, because we are the biggest hotel brand. So then obviously you have a lot of training that you provide. Some of that training would be generic for anybody who's coming to work for you. And then a lot of the training obviously is very specific for each area. But I would say that training is the number one thing. And you need to make sure that you have the best documents and that training is fun. So we do a lot of training with role plays. Let's see that you have one client that's angry, one associates that wants to make sure that this angry client knows how to respond. So you do a lot of role plays. You also have lots of training that you share with different hotels all over the world, because I can guarantee you that that's why this brand is so obviously famous, because you go to one hotel in Asia and you will get maybe specific items that you will also get in Europe and in Australia, for example, in terms of service and how they greet you. So they're going to go ahead and leave everything that they're doing to greet you. So you need to make sure that the training is provided right from day one when they start, the generic training. And then obviously you need to work with the leader of each department to make sure that they have all the tools to provide that service. And obviously, working and they can see leading by example, all the department heads leading by example, how their associates would need to come and work.
All right. So overall, it's just they need to have lots of training. Well, yes, actually, we need to
And
train.
all the time.
Yes,
yes.
so basically train and
Like
learn.
every year. Every year. It's not only once when you started, it's constant, like, and it changes, right? Right now, there's a lot of training regarding AI, because before AI was not here. So then it's just having yearly and training throughout the year, but brand new training.
Yeah, no, that's really great. Thank you very much for joining me on today's episode of It's Interesting, the World of Hospitality.
Anytime, Jordi, I'll be more than happy to join you as many times as you ask me, because I have a passion for hospitality and I want to make sure that if anyone out there has that same passion, to come and work with us.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Goodbye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.